All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Best Self Blueprint. So, as you all know, the mission of this podcast is to bring on people with the knowledge, insights, and experiences as to what it takes to truly move that dial towards becoming the best version of yourself. So, this next guest is an ultra endurance and OCR athlete who has been dominating since back in high school when he went to nationals and became an all American sprinter. He now works as a run coach and personal trainer while tearing up the competition in both CrossFit and OCR. He recently created the Wolverine Challenge, a series of workouts meant to test an athlete's physical and mental fitness. His approach to his training, coaching, and life are exactly why he is the perfect guest for the show. So, to officially introduce Jake Viss, how you doing, man?
Good. I'm glad to be on the show. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I'm excited. So, the first thing I want to dive into because I'm doing it is the Wolverine Challenge. Now, these are all workouts you've done yourself that you now are challenging other people to do. What's your mentality? We talked about it right before we hopped on. What's your mentality when it comes to kind of continuing to up the ante with your training?
So Wolverine Challenge, I've done a lot of crazy workouts, and a lot of my friends are like, "Why would you do that?" I'm like, well, because it was hard and it was challenging, so I like the challenge. And most of them I've done by myself, and I've created most of them, and some of them I actually got from like doing other challenges, and I was like, that was tough. I like that. Um, so I just wanted people to experience that, but in the same way, what can we get to charity is the biggest thing. And where do I want to go to? And I don't want to make any money off of it. I just want all the money to go to charity. But I don't want to lose any money off of it either. But getting that word out there. So all the money that is raised from this is going to the JJ Watt Foundation, keeping it homeboy Wisconsin. By the way, I hope he comes to the Packers. Going from there is just making the workouts that I had listed in my log of like training and what crazy stuff I've done. And some I was like, okay, that's a little too crazy. Maybe not. That takes like 7 hours. We're going to tone it back, but give you all the hard stuff. It's 10 workouts, and they're all surprise. So you don't know until you sign up for the race or the challenge. It's all virtual. You have the year of 2021. So till the end of this year to complete all of them. And you get a cool medal that is a custom design and a certification saying basically you're a badass. So, yeah.
Yeah, I'm hunting it down. I'm going for it. But so
You are crushing it, like just crushing it. I was not expecting someone to have 7 done by like not even the end of February. It's like, geez.
yeah, doing what
So
I can. So my question for you is like, when did you first adapt that mentality of trying to really test your limit? Because like you said, even back in high school, you were going to state, going to nationals, you were an all-American sprinter. Did you have that mentality like from the get-go as an athlete of like, I want to see how much I can get out of this?
It started in high school. As a kid, I was always an active kid. I was a hyper kid. I had a lot of energy. So my parents put me in every sport that they could think of and wanted to see which one would he like. Like, what is this kid gonna like? He's got to like some sport. He can't just not do anything. Um, so running was something I always gravitated towards when I was a kid, and I was just good at it. And I put a little bit of work in. But it was after my sophomore year of high school, I was on the for freshman
Oh,
head, but I was like, am I still there?
yep. All right. You cut out for a second. So if you could go back about 10 seconds, what you were saying.
All right. So when I was in high school, I guess I've always been kind of a natural runner, um, but I never like really put the work in. But after my sophomore year of high school, I was on JV for freshman and sophomore. And going into my junior year, something just clicked in me, and it was like, I want varsity, and I want state, and I want school records, and it was just that's all I wanted to do. I wanted to just tackle that. I did some football too in high school, but I was not the biggest kid, so I was always kind of beat up a little bit more there. So I figured track is definitely a safer sport, and it's fair. Whereas I know I can prove myself against everybody else. And from there, that's what sparked it. Was my junior year of high school. I ended up making varsity. I qualified for state in the open 400, and that was just that kind of like lit me. Even in like Wisconsin training in the off seasons for that year, there'd be a blizzard outside, and it'd be like minus 10 degrees. And our coach said, "Oh, you can go run the hallways." And I was like, "No, the hallways aren't long enough. I'm going to go run in the parking lot, in the teacher's parking lot." And he's like, "It's minus 10 in a blizzard." I was like, "I know." And I would still be out there training. So it started from there, and it's kind of just evolved from that.
So the thing that always fascinates me about people who perform at a high level is there had to have been some switch or some transition where you cultivated a new mindset, cultivated a new work ethic. So from going from like the JV work ethic to the nationals work ethic, what did you start to change? Like, what did you start to implement? Whether it was like what you thought about and focused on, what you did during your training, like what were a few things that you did that people looking to go to the next level can put into practice?
The biggest thing is getting the value out of wanting more, like not just settling for like I'm good here. No, I want more. Not being arrogant or cocky about it in any way, just more like I want to be the best. Will I be the best? I don't know, but I want to. And then with that is the work is the big thing. I'm a huge fan of like putting in that work, all that time, all that effort, those hard workouts, those really tough days, and those recovery days, those rest days are important, getting yourself good. That when I was younger was just like, I needed that work. I needed that. And if I didn't get that hard work in, if I was like injured for like a week or two, I just went crazy because like I can't not do it. And then when I got back into it, it was putting in that work. So it was just the hard times of work is my big drive to want to be better because I look forward to putting in the work almost more than I look forward to the actual race or whatever it is at the end of it.
So I'm curious what you have to say about this. Do you think everyone has the ability to have that power behind their desire? Like, do you think everyone has that ability to tap into like the need or like not the need, but the strong want to be the best? Or do you think there are some people with that like almost like killer mentality and some people without?
I feel like there's a fine line. It depends on, in my opinion, what you're doing. Because there's a wide variety of sports out there. There's a wide variety of even people that are just really smart and want to get smarter for certain things. I feel like if you want it, you know you're going to put in the work for it. If you don't want it, I feel like some people in that aspect are almost looking for something to latch onto, and they maybe haven't found it yet, or they maybe never do find it. But there's not many people just want to go do it to just go do it. To go put, they don't want to go put themselves through a 5-hour run. They want to just go do that. They got to want to do it, and they got to latch onto something. So if they haven't found that, whatever it is, it depends. That's just my theory on it. If you don't find it, you don't find it. But if you do, then that's where you get it. It may take a while, it may be right away.
So for the people who think they've dialed in on like let's say someone is in their like dream job and they love it, they want to make the most of it, but for some reason they just find themselves either slacking off at work or clocking out a little early. Like what's your advice, I guess, for those people who they think they've found that thing, but for some reason they keep tripping themselves up?
I've been there where you kind of get settled into like, because right now the job that I have, I love it. It is probably my favorite job I've had. I enjoy doing it. I enjoy going to work, but you do kind of get complacent sometimes. When I do try to find things in the day, wherever it may be, because I work with customers and people face to face, and helping is like finding the unique things about when someone comes in, something's different about this person. Everybody's different in their own way, and like how can I help them feel better, get better, and then the next person comes in and theirs is a completely different thing from that first person. Personally, I thrive off of that. So finding little things within your work that make you want to just go from being complacent to going back up, stepping up your game again. Because we do kind of get in that rut, and looking outside of work, I don't think work's the greatest, because then you're focusing on other things than work because you want to focus on your job. So if you have a great job, look within that job to find more ways to want to grow.
Yeah, I really like, and I completely agree with that. Like, if you've been looking at it through the same lens, I feel like no matter how cool and exciting the thing is to start, the longer you look at it through the same lens, the more mundane it's going to get. So like, I love what you're saying about like, you have to challenge yourself to just put a different lens on it, look at it from a little different perspective of like, maybe one day you're going in focusing on like how you can be a little more efficient. And then it becomes a challenge to like see how you can more efficiently do each task you do the exact same way at the exact same time. Then the next day you go in, you think, okay, how can I help the other people around me? And that's the challenge for the day, of seeing how many people you
Yeah.
can help. And so I love that idea of like almost putting like mini challenges or like mini perception shifts in place, not only to keep it interesting, but to show how in depth you can really get with what you're doing.
Yeah, I would agree, definitely. Yeah.
So one thing I'm always curious to ask coaches this. So as someone who is both an athlete and a coach, how does like being an athlete help you coach, and how does being a coach help you as an athlete?
How does being a coach, how does being an athlete help me coach?
Yeah.
The first one, I'd say the biggest thing is you know what they're going through because you're an athlete yourself. So you know where they're at mentally when things are down or when things are high and they're like riding that wave. Like, I'm feeling good. I'm like, yeah, that's a good feeling. Or when things get a little rough patch, like, I've been there. I know it. So the mental game is awesome because you can communicate with that person easily because you're like, I've been there. I know this. The physical side of things, if people are maybe not seeing results, the biggest thing is I want to see results now, fast. I mean, it does take time. It's a progression period. So knowing that as being an athlete is great to talk to me. Like, it is going to take time. Within, you're not going to like all of a sudden be the fastest person. Like, that doesn't happen overnight. And talking, communicating that way. I'd say being when being a coach helped me being an athlete.
Mm-hmm.
That's tough for me personally. I'm great at getting people coached up and ready for whatever they're going to do, whether it be in shape, getting ready for a race, whatever it is. But for coaching myself, I'm not, again, I have that mentality of I want more, I have to do more. So it almost is a downfall for me because I push myself almost too far and I end up with like an injury or something. So for me, it's good and bad, but it's kind of that fine line where I want more. And being a coach, I'm like, I can draw this up, but then I draw up too much for myself because I push myself too far. So I had someone from my running specifically coach me separately, which is very common where coaches get coaches and this and that. And it's this thing like years ago, I was like, nobody does that. And then I asked some coaches and they're like, oh yeah, there's people that I coach that I would let coach me. I was like, well, okay. So I did that, and definitely that has helped quite a bit. But yeah.
So yeah, this is my mentality around it. So like, after coaching other people who I get frustrated with, whenever I'm doing a workout or trying to follow a meal plan or like really just trying to complete any task, I always think about like, try to be the client you wish you had.
Oh yeah.
So that's a huge driver for me, is like, if I expect these things from my clients, like if I want that perfect client, I better be that perfect client when I tell myself to do stuff, because if I can't expect it from myself, how can I expect it from other people?
Yeah. No, that makes a really good point.
So yeah, that's kind of my biggest thing, I guess, I've learned from it. Um, what has been like, let me try to phrase this the right way. What has been one question, or I guess like one conversation that you've had over and over again as a coach, that you're surprised you keep getting asked that thing or having to explain it?
Um, I'd have to go back to like seeing results fast. Like, a lot of people want that quick. I want it now, and you have to keep reiterating. It's going to take time. It's all about progress in increments. You can't just jump the line. Can't skip it ahead. I mean, that's not how it works. And keep reiterating that. I mean, throughout the years, being a coach and doing it, and that's the biggest thing I have to keep getting on people about. And then the second thing, for sure, nutrition. I say, yeah, that is so hard for some people to just like, you dial your nutrition in, it's going to benefit. Sorry, in the long run for the rest of whatever you're trying to accomplish. Because if you can go do all this stuff, which is great, but then you're not eating the correct way, you're not going to see the progress as fast as you would if you were dialing some nutrition things. Those would be the two things I think that I, over the years, keep bringing up over and over again.
Yeah, so this is something I want people to hear, because like that idea, or that like quote of like, you are what you eat, scientifically that is true. Like, you quite literally are what you eat. That is what your cells are made of. That is what goes into your mitochondria, which are basically the powerhouse of your cells. For anyone who was in like 9th grade biology, I didn't do well in the class. And so
I knew that I was not good.
yeah, so that like, it's there are two forms of energy in my opinion. There's the psychological energy, where it's like when you're beat, when you're super tired. Like for me, there's like 1 or 2 songs where like, if that song comes on and I thought I was done before it came on, I'm like, okay, I've got a little extra hop in my step, I'm good. And that's the psychological energy of like, if you have like that song, or if someone like says something to you that fires you up, that's the psychological. But there's also just the natural physical energy that you have of like again, the mitochondria in your cells, like the energy storage and how it's released and the quality of the energy. And if you really want to optimize your performance, not even as an athlete, just as a human being, you need to make sure that you're dialing in nutrition, because that is the energy source on which you get to, like, draw from. And if you're drawing from McDonald's, Quick Trip, and Taco Bell, it's not going to do you nearly as good.
No, no. I will admit though, sometimes in a pinch, the Quick Trip, they have me on one thing, and I'm gonna admit this, and I try to eat as healthy as I can, but I go a lot of morning runs, and I have a lot of long ones. I hit some trailheads that are in the middle of nowhere and running, and I come back and I go to work after. There's Quick Trips in Madison everywhere. There's Quick Trips in Wisconsin all over the place, so it's an easy thing to stop in. To have this breakfast sandwich, it's 2 waffles with meat and cheese, and I try, and it's weird too, because I have a problem with like digesting dairy, but for some reason I still want it, and it's terrible. But I allow myself that one thing, and I'm like, okay, the rest of the day I'm good. Like, but that's very rare, special occasions I'll do that. But at the same time, like, getting off subject.
No, that's perfect. That's actually a really good point. So that's something I want to add to, is like, I do preach on nutrition, yes, but also I preach on experiencing life and all it has to offer. So those are 2 very countering points of like, you want to be able to enjoy cake and chips and cookies and Mountain Dew and all that stuff, but you also want to optimize your health and your nutrition and all of that. And so I think it's important for people to understand, like, and I just had this conversation with someone this morning, you need to figure out what balance you want, because I know people who are straight up robotic with, they hit their caloric intake to a T, they hit their macros to a T, they hit their micros to a T, which is like insane.
That's a lot.
With that, those are the people who don't go out to dinner with their friends. They're never eating cake at a birthday or cookies at a Christmas party. And so if those are the things you enjoy, that's awesome. There's no shame around that by any means, but you need to figure out what your balance is. So for me, heck, I'll throw a frozen pizza in and demolish the whole thing if I'm feeling it after like a really long workout or like a race or something like that. But that's not like a nightly thing. It used to be, trust me, before I really got into this stuff, I was crushing frozen pizzas like they were water. But
yeah,
again, it comes down to, what do you want, and what sacrifices are worth it for you to get the life, the body, the health that you want.
Yeah, agreed.
So that's the nutrition part, but I want to dive into the training, because again, like, for people listening, I consider my training like fairly intense, and this dude is straight up psycho, like from my perspective, just with some of the stuff he does. So like, when it comes to your training, like, what is it mentally and emotionally that allows you to push yourself so far past, like, I guess I'll tie it to the quote. I don't, is it Muhammad Ali that said he only starts counting the sit-ups once he starts to feel the burn? Like
It might have
everything
been
leading up
Muhammad
to when he
Ali.
starts feeling it, he doesn't count it. But I feel like that is you. Like you're the type of person who like you really don't consider it a good workout until you start kind of feeling that physical, mental, emotional fatigue. And that's when you're like, okay, game on. So how do you develop that mental and emotional toughness?
The biggest thing is like I said, when I clicked in high school, it almost became I was a glutton for punishment. Like I wanted the hardest workouts you had. I wanted my coach to dial up my training because I wanted more and I knew I could handle it. The biggest thing is also knowing your limits. I've pushed too far mentally and physically, and it has backfired, which people have been there. So learning from those mistakes and learning those limits, but that mental of like glutton for punishment, wanting, like for instance, like when I was in high school, going all the way back to when everything clicked. So after my sophomore year, I put in as soon as the season ended, I was back to training the next day and putting in work, getting ready for junior year, all off season, nonstop. My coach, he wasn't technically not allowed to coach you and train you, but they can have like a wide spectrum of run plans set up and you can follow it on your own. So I could do that. And I followed it to a T. I hit the gym. I was working out. I was doing all this stuff day in. I was working a job and I would work out for like 3 hours. I would work out, then go run. And then I would go to my night job at Piggly Wiggly. And then I would go home and I would repeat that. And I just wanted all of it. And when I got to junior year, the first workout, coach put me in JV. And I was like, I put all this work in. And JV workout, I was like, this is way too easy. Like I'm running times that this is way too easy. So after that, which in our track team was a pretty big school, pretty big track team, and some of the kids didn't want to bump up to varsity because they knew you had to put in more work. And I actually went up to my coach, went to his room after practice, and was like, "Can I move up to varsity for the 400?" Because I was a 400 runner. And he's like, "No one asks to move up to train with the 400 guys, knowing what they go through." I'm like, but the time was just too easy for me today. And he's like, "Well, I'll move you up, but if you are too slow, you're going back." And the next day I was in varsity. I wasn't the first, I wasn't the last. I was right in the middle, and I was right where I wanted to be because I asked for more punishment. I was like, that's where that came from. Is just again wanting that hard work, and the biggest from there now, being me now these years later, I get more satisfaction. Not just like the creating it is fun, but when you're done, when you finished it and you look back, you're like, man, that was a good one. Like, man, I can't even feel my arms right now. Like, I can't even pick up my water bottle. Like, I can't even close my hands. I can't open them. Or my legs are like jelly and I'm walking like a baby deer just born. Like, that was a good one. Like, the end is almost better feeling to me now. Like, I just accomplished it.
Yeah, I feel like it's almost like you had the courage to go into the pain cave. You went in there, you
Yeah.
sat there, you endured it, and once you knew you were done, you walk out and you're still good. And I feel like it almost is like the adage of like what doesn't kill you makes you stronger in that sense of
Yeah.
training that I have totally adopted that where obviously there are times with that mentality where like if you're pushing and trying to find your limit, ultimately you're going to find it and oftentimes
Mm-hmm.
pass it. But I feel like there's just so much more than the physical benefits when you actually seek out those types of challenges. Like not just like a quick little fun challenge, but one that you really know like you're going to have those thoughts in your head of like just stop. You know you're not good enough, just stop now. Or like this is getting really tough. It would be really easy to quit. No one's watching. Things
Yeah.
like that I mean, when I first started really trying to push the pace, that stuff was going through my head constantly. But now again, because of that, like David Goggins calls it like mental callousing your mind. If one of those thoughts pops up, it almost immediately goes away because I have that track record with myself. And so I think if people are curious, like, how do you overcome that negative self-talk? Prove it wrong. And then go out and prove it wrong again and again and again and again. And with enough repetition, you're going to be able to snap out of that real quick.
Yeah. And I agree with that. The biggest thing also is like, if anybody's going to be your biggest critic, it's yourself. If anyone's going to want to motivate you and make you better, it's no one else. It's yourself. And that's something that I've also kind of towed that line. I've tried to compare myself to other athletes and this and that. And it's almost a waste of time, because the more you want to compare yourself to other people, the fact that you're not that person, so you can't really compare yourself to that person, is better just compare yourself to yourself. Like, how I'm motivating me. That's all that I need to do. That mental thing for me personally has been hard to like struggle to like not compare, because there are so many amazing athletes out there, especially in like OCR world, that do some crazy cool things. I mean, like Ryan Atkins, the guy's amazing. If I had to pick anybody that is probably my idol athlete of like all sports, like just being an overall athlete, Ryan Atkins would have to be it, just because the dude can do it. But I'm not him, and he's not me. I am me, he's him. So you got it's like, I bet he would probably say the same thing. Like, I compare myself to me. I want to make myself better. I'm not going to say I'm better than this person or that person. He is a pretty straightforward guy when it comes to that. He says, let's let the legs do the talking. That's all it is when it comes to his races. But having that mindset of, I'm my critic. No one else is telling me I suck, I'm terrible. I'm telling myself that stuff in my own head, and just keep going, because it's going to hurt for now, but you're going to feel better when it's done.
Dude, that's some powerful stuff. So I've talked about comparison with multiple people on here before, but like the way you just explained it is so easy to understand for everybody, where it's like, I've talked about it in terms of social media. I've talked about it in terms of like when you're at the gym and you see someone like benching more or squatting more or running faster. But it's as simple as what you just said. Like, you are not them, they are not you. All you can control is 24 hours from now, a week from now, a month from now, a year from now. Are you going to be better than how you are right now? And I think that is a really powerful thought exercise of, I do like almost like a mirror talk when I'm about to go to bed, where I just look myself in the mirror and I think, okay, am I better right now than I was this time yesterday? If I am, awesome. I'm going to be that much better tomorrow. If I'm not, okay, I can't really do anything about it at this point. Why not? And how can I improve? And to avoid comparison, aside from comparing you to you, I think is just one of the best tools to have in the arsenal.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Definitely. It's a hard thing to do, because, I mean, I consider myself a good athlete. I've been a good athlete. A lot of it has to do with I put in the work. I am good in some ways, but I can get better by putting in that work. Am I a great athlete? I wouldn't say I'm a great athlete. I'm in that middle float, but I have that mentality a lot of the time. I want to be great, but I'm not there. Like, that's a struggle sometimes. A lot of people too, where they have this mentality like, I'm the best that ever was and never will be. Physically, you might not be there, but your mental game is there. That can be detrimental to some people, and in times it has been to me. But also taking a step back and breathing and knowing I'm good. Will I get better? Yes. Will I be amazing in my own way? Yes. And that's accepting that and knowing that is kind of almost eating a humble pie in some ways. Like, it's just gotta bring it in, breathe it in, be your best that you can be, not what, again, someone else is. You're not them.
Yeah, that's actually something. So the episode that just got posted today when we're recording this, I was talking with a guy from Australia about, he was saying, for people with that mentality of like wanting to be great, wanting to do great things, contribute a lot, become a person of just immense value, the toughest part about that is your mind will oftentimes try to trick you into fantasizing that you are that amazing person right now, even if you're not. And so that's the toughest part. Is I think it's important to still keep that mindset, because if you don't have the mindset and you lose that, I think it's really likely that you're going to get lulled into complacency if you lose that. Again, I guess I'll call it a killer instinct, but you have to control it. So have it, but don't let it override the system. So I love that.
Yeah. One more quote. Like, there's a guy, probably know who Matt Frazier is. CrossFit athlete extraordinaire,
Beast.
amazing beast of a dude, phenomenal. I saw him, just a quick clip from him in a podcast. He made a quote that hit me hard this year. It was like, oh, that's a great thing. He basically said, because he's won the CrossFit Games, going on 5 times now, just ridiculous amount of times. And he says his mentality, he goes into it not thinking I'm going to win. He doesn't, which is crazy. You're like, well, dude, you are going to win. He doesn't go in the mentality of like, I'm going to win. This is mine. He goes into it, I don't know, but I'm going to give my best. And I'm going to put everything that I have out there. And those guys I'm going up against better give everything that they want, because I want them at their best when I'm at my best. Do I know I'm going to win? No. Do I want to win? Yes. I mean, that right there is like, if the most fittest man on the planet can, like, he's even saying, I don't know I'm going to win. Do I want to? Yeah. Like, that's amazing. To me, it's like, okay.
Dude,
is it that easy?
that is something I preach all the time. So like, you'll probably get this. So what I always tell people always is, I would much rather, in the context of an obstacle course race, which for anyone who doesn't know, when we say OCR, we're talking about obstacle course racing. I'll just fill that in now. But like, in terms of OCR, I would rather finish a race knowing that I did 100% everything I could do to go as fast as I could and be as efficient as possible and not place high, than place high but cross that finish line knowing that I really didn't even have a good race. That's me personally. I'm sure there are people who would disagree with that, who want like the medal and they want to be on the podium, but that's where I completely vibe with the Matt Frazier quote of like, I don't care as much about what place I come in. Obviously, yeah, like you said, like, do I want to win? Heck yeah, everybody does when they're competing. Otherwise, you wouldn't be competing. But at the end of the day, like, all you can do is all you can do. So I'm way more proud of the effort I put in and like the training leading up to that race
Yeah.
than the actual result of the race.
Yeah, I agree.
So sweet. All right. So I get into like a final 2 with everybody, just a final 2 questions. But before I do that, obviously we both want to shout out Legendary Fitness. So we're both Legendary Fitness athletes. They are an amazing OCR and ninja gym. They do functional fitness. They have, if I say so myself, a great coaching staff. But yeah, just amazing people in the community. And if you are in southeastern Wisconsin or if you're traveling through, definitely check it out. It's basically an adult playground. So
Yeah.
other than that, is there anything you want to mention to people? Talk about the Wolverine challenge, maybe where people can sign up and just where they can connect with you.
Yes. So with the Wolverine challenge, this was the first year doing it. It was kind of I don't know what's going to happen. We're going to try it. If nobody signs up, then I guess I tried. But if I get some people, cool. My goal was 20 people. I was like, I know it's aiming low, but again, it's just something to get it going. End up right now I'm at 21, and registration is done in July because the workouts are tough. Like point blank, he can tell you, people, it's not easy. It's not stuff that you're like, oh, that's not bad. No, you're gonna look at it and go, are you serious? Like when I sent it, it was awesome for some of the responses that I got back. I got a lot of swear words, and I got some people like, Jake, no, like you did not, like, yeah, trust me. I would not lie to you. So I cut off in July mainly because I don't want people to try and cram all this in and then get injured, because it does say in there, I do put in there, do not do this 10 days in a row. You will injure yourself. You will push yourself too far. Even the greatest athletes that I feel like in the world would probably have some issues happen quite a bit. But it's a lot of fun because it's pushing yourself. It's not a competitive thing where you're ranking yourself against other people. It's all about, I finished that workout or challenge and I feel good. Like I didn't know if I could do that. I saw it and I was like, that's scary. And I tried it and I did it and I'm like, oh, I feel so good. So that's really the reason I wanted to do it, was for people's inner like self-worth of like, I can do this. I just accomplished something that I never thought I'd be able to do. So that's the Wolverine challenge. You can find it at Run Sign Up, the Wolverine challenge. It's $18 and 15 of it goes to charity. And the other $3 literally is just to cover the price of what I had to pay for it to make the medals, the stamp, and to ship it out to people. Otherwise, I make zero off of it. Everything goes to, and you can also donate, and all that money that's donated goes to the charity JJ Watt Foundation. Other than that, just getting ready for another race season. I just finished up High Rocks yesterday, which was a great thing, the virtual challenge, and that was tough. 3 workouts, 24 hours to do them. I shortened it because I had stuff to do in a day, so I only did it in 4 hours. So I tried my best, and then that was a lot of fun. And now it's looking forward to the future races with this season.
Nice, man. Yeah. So like I will say, because I'm in the middle of this Wolverine challenge, and it's one of those things where you look at the workout and you think it's gonna suck. And then you do the workout and it sucks so much more than you thought it was gonna suck. But at the same rate, I think it's one of those things where again, you take it at your own pace. There are modifications based on your ability. So like the biggest thing is like you're trying to push yourself, and it definitely does that. I can 100% attest to that. But yeah, so if you're an athlete, or even if you're just someone looking to kind of test your grit, it's a perfect challenge. So reach out to Jake. I'll put his contact info in the show notes. But before we log off, it is time for the final 2. So 2 questions. The first one is, for you right now, what is the next step in you becoming your best self?
Right now, my next step is I wouldn't say, for me personally, it's trying to balance life with workout with life, because there's my life. I like my work. I don't consider my work. I consider it life, and I like what I do. And working out, I love doing that. I do a variety of things, so I enjoy that. I want to keep those 2 things happy. The other part is actual life, like what happens outside of those. And some big things this year. I'm getting married, so I'm looking forward to that. Beyonce is amazing, and I love her a lot. So that's something that's big coming up for me. So growing in that way and moving forward in my life in that direction is going to be very important. And what was that the first question, or was that?
Yep. Yeah. So that's just the first question. So the
Okay.
second one, I'm really interested with someone with your mindset to see how you answer this one. So the second question is an opportunity for you to challenge the audience. So you get to challenge the audience to do one thing that, when done, will better their life in some way, or teach them some lesson, or just one challenge that kind of encompasses them becoming a better version of themselves. What challenge do you want to give to people listening?
I'm gonna go think outside the box. Basically, if you're listening, think back to when you saw something that was either scary to do or experience, or a workout or a sport that you're like, hell no. Things that you're like, no way. No. You're just like terrified of it. Do it. I mean, to a certain level, if it's going to kill you, if it's risking your life since might die from it. Like if you're going to go run with the bulls in Spain and you might get gored by a bull and you're like, hell no, that one I'd understand not doing. I'm talking more along the lines of like skydiving. Like, no way. Yes, you can still die from skydiving, whatever, but it's safer than getting gored by a bull. But like just those things that you're like, hell no. Because if you do it, you're almost more like, you have this release of just so many emotions, so many things that you're like, I did that. Like, oh my gosh. There's a lot of things in my life that I'm still like, oh, no, but I'm like, I'm going to do it at some point. Like my number one, and that would be my biggest advice to people is look back and think of things that you're like, hell no, and you go, okay, I'll do that.
Dude, I love that one. That's like, for me, like doing things to get out of your comfort zone and things that really make you hesitate, that again aren't going to kill you or like really severely
within reason.
Like those things I think are what make life worth living. Like those things that really give you like a rush of emotion and like really force you to be in the present moment and like really mindful of what's going on. Those are like, oh, those are my bread and butter. So amazing challenge. Jake, I want to thank you for coming on the show. I want to thank you for all that you do, inspiring people as an athlete, as a coach, as a mentor, and just as a human being. Like you you do such a good job of showing people not to accept their limits and just to keep trying to level up. And that is exactly what I'm trying to do here. So, like I said in the intro, you are like a perfect person to have on the show, and I'm really happy that you took me up on the offer.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. I think what you're doing is great with this. It's awesome inspiring people and having people wanting to better themselves, which is always great. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that in any way. So yeah, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
You bet. And for anyone listening, if you are at all interested in getting into endurance athletics, OCR, CrossFit, I mean, pretty much any solo sport that involves running, Jake is a great person to reach out to if you have questions about like callousing, I guess, yeah, callousing the mind, developing that mental toughness, what it actually takes, practically speaking, to get yourself to that next level. Reach out to him, reach out to me. Like, hopefully we can help. If not, we'll at least direct you to someone who can. But if you have questions about anything we talked about, you can comment in the comments section, or again, reach out to us. If you think there's someone who would either enjoy this talk or just who needs to hear this talk, who maybe needs to add a little grit or mental callousing, share this with them. That's why there's a share button. So thank you everybody for listening, and we will see you next time.